Greetings. Welcome to Emergence. This is a guest series for the Saturn-Neptune conjunction on February 20th, 2026. I'm your host for the series, Marina Ormes, and this is such an important astrological alignment that I have invited several guests to share their insights with you to help navigate the changing times, because we're in changing times, but this specific transit is going to bring some energy that I think will bring some new beginnings and hopefully help us shape the future. So the goal here is to help you work with that energy. And more details are available at transformationalastrology.com. So sign up for a free account there to get advance access to each speaker's video. And this is our first speaker. I'm so excited to welcome Celeste Brooks. Celeste is an OPA certified astrologer, teacher, and intuitive. She offers consultations, classes, coaching, and specializes in chart rectification for unknown birth times. You can learn more about Celeste at astrologybyceleste.com. Thanks for being here, Celeste.
Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to talk about this important transit with you.
Yes. So for people who don't know, let's start by kind of jumping in with why is this important? What are these energies about? And so I'll get your thoughts.
Yeah, so Saturn and Neptune come together every 36 years. So whenever Saturn is a social planet, it's the limit of where the eye can see. It rules structures and boundaries. It's the planet of karma. It also has associations with authority and institutions. And it's coming together with Neptune, which is an outer planet. We cannot see it from our eye, but it's always there. And when planets in the inner especially come together with the outer, something is going to come to our attention about these themes. And when there's a conjunction, the energies merge. And Neptune is the unseen. It's a planet of spirituality, compassion, illusions, delusions, and confusion. It rules drugs, oil, water, things that are in focus right now. And Saturn and Neptune coming together has themes of structures dissolving. And anyone who's been paying attention knows that the world order is dissolving as the United States launched a trade war with all these tariffs, and there's just rising conflict. So we see these structures, things we thought we could depend on, Saturnian, dissolving, and they've been close for the last year, but they're going to come together, and there's going to be a new start in some way. It's a seeding, and it's at 0 degrees of Aries, which is on a world point, which is very visible. The first degree of the first sign of the zodiac. And it's exciting because it brings in new beginnings, but it's, bringing up people's concerns and fears and worries. Saturn rules fear, as, things you thought you could depend on going away is scary. So it's a big transit. But I want to say something before I pause as we get going, because there's a famous astrologer, Andre Barbeau, who is French. He's gone now, but he predicted World War II as well as the COVID-19 pandemic. And he said the Saturn-Neptune conjunction of 2026 is the most benefic configuration of the century, and its interplanetary partnership will work for the best in a splendid relaunch of civilization. Human beings may be surpassing themselves and experiencing life on a higher level. So I just want to put that out there as well as we go to face this transit.
Incredible. Yeah, it feels very potent in part because the energies of Saturn and Neptune are so different, and this is such a big cycle, and it's so rare for it to be at this particular degree of the zodiac. Um, and so it brings, would you say, like a kind of reckoning?
Absolutely. A karmic reckoning for sure is coming to the whole collective, and specifically places that have zero Aries, and people have planets or placements near zero Aries, the the Aries point or the cardinal signs. It would be an opposition if it's Libra, a square if it's Cancer or Capricorn.
Yeah, so 0 degrees of any cardinal sign are going to be very activated by this
Mhm.
energy. Yeah, so people might be feeling like, a little nervous about what's happening. So how can we like really orient ourselves and be clear-sighted about what's happening and what we're looking at? And yeah.
Yeah, I'm like one of the big stories that we know are coming up with this is Aries is a sign of conflict, and we see rising conflict, and we know there's potentially going to be a new start in conflict. Now, Aries is the pioneer, sign of bravery. It's the firefighter who goes rushing into the burning building to save people, and doesn't is not that they're not concerned with their own safety, but despite their fears, they move forward to do things anyway. And courageous leadership is going to be a big theme of this time. We already see it. The people who are standing up and pushing back against the bully are getting noticed and being revered. And right now we have this huge Aquarius stellium that's going to be, there's still going to be several planets in Aquarius when the conjunction happens. There are themes of the people, the community coming together to fight against brutality and resist authoritarian actions. And that is it's a time of social movements as well. So people look at Minnesota in the freezing cold. People are out there standing up for against brutality against their neighbors, despite the risk to themselves. That's like, I don't know what else is Saturn, Neptune, and Aries besides people fighting in the streets against the brutal cold. Neptune rules water, Saturn, like that frozen water, the ice, the snow. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. We're watching this imagery, the ice storm. There's actually an ice storm happening at the same time. It's just unbelievable, this beautiful language that gives us the archetypal energies of what's going on ahead of time.
Yeah, I just want to delineate what you're saying a little bit for people. So we have Neptune, which is watery planet. It really deals with this energy of sort of flow and transcendence and dissolving or transcending boundaries. And then we have Saturn, which kind of uh, crystallizes, right? So it brings form, it brings shape to things. And so you're talking about ice, literally bringing shape to water. That's, yeah, it's just amazing. And I think that is such a good metaphor too for how how we can think about our own ability to step into that leadership. And so as we have that consolidation or crystallizing of the Saturn energy, how would you see that as guiding each of us?
Well, with Aries, the spark comes from within and your own ideas of what you can do. With these Aquarian movements, and this is one of the things that's so interesting about Minnesota, it's like there's not a leader necessarily who says, follow me and we're going to do X, Y, and Z. People are coming up with their own ideas about how to make a difference. This was several months ago when the government said, or the administration said, we're not paying SNAP benefits anymore. So this is food assistance for people who can't afford it. And there was this family, and I can't remember what state they were in, but they made a food pantry that they put outside their house with a sign that says, if anybody needs help, you can just take something. And they kept restocking and putting food in there because they just couldn't bear to see people who are going to be literally starving or unable to feed their children. And then they inspired people. This is Aries. This is fire. Fire inspires. They inspired people, and these things showed up all over. It's like the little libraries that was just an idea someone did, and then now they're all over the world. Well, now we're seeing some food pantries. Uranus is in Taurus, and it's almost to the end of this transit that began in 2018, where there's an upheaval Uranus around resources, Taurus, which can include food and money. And so that's another story that's going concurrently with this. So people are coming up with their own ideas. What do you think you can do to make a difference? Now you can get people together and do it, or you can just take some actions and do things yourself. Go volunteer at a food pantry, or just even speaking up about what you're seeing is important at this time. Can you donate time? Can you donate money? And people are like donating to, doing like a one-on-one thing. There was a reporter who was out in Minneapolis, like just getting the scenes, documenting this. And he was talking about the hardship of it. And I just asked for his Venmo and just sent him money for a coffee. I mean, it doesn't seem like a big thing, but it's something that I did to just make life a little easier for this person. And other people are doing that, like crowdfunding. People are just figuring things out and making them happen.
I love that.
An organization telling you do X, Y, Z, then D.
It's the spark, like you said, the spark within. So kind of listening to that spark and finding what that spark is for you and what feels good to you, right?
Yes. And it's a time when mythic heroes are rising. Absolutely. Neptune in Aries is a mythic hero. And another thing that's really, and also martyrs, unfortunately, Saturn, Neptune, and Aries. That's a story about martyrs because Saturn rules death. Neptune, who have been lost, but who we admire and mythologize because of their bravery. Aries, Renee Good and Alex Preddy. And so they were, astrology is so incredible. It was under a Capricorn new moon that Alex Preddy Renee Good was killed right after the Cancer full moon on the USA sun. So our identity. And then there was a new moon in Capricorn, and then Alex Preddy was killed. And Bruce Springsteen wrote a song called The Streets of Minneapolis about what is going on in the United States. And it is now #1 on the iTunes hits in 19 countries around the world as we approach the full moon in Leo. And Bruce Springsteen is the boss. We had a new moon in Capricorn. How the boss is that? And then he wrote this song as Neptune was finishing its last days in Pisces. It just came through him. It channeled it. And he sent it out into the world during a first quarter moon in Taurus, where the sun was in Aquarius, the sign of the collective, the moon in Taurus, the sign of our values as well as body knowledge. And then the next day, Neptune went into Aries, the sign of the spiritual warrior. And within a week, it's top of the charts. And I've listened to it like 7 or 8 times. It's so incredible. In an effort to bring back the 1950s, the current US administration brought back the 1960s, and they haven't seen nothing yet.
I love it. I love your fire, your
Thank you. I'm
passion.
an Aries moon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So how can we see this as a time really of beginnings? Of
Mm.
like, what are we putting in place? What are we planting the seed of? And you mentioned spiritual warrior. So, and I've been talking on my channel about how it's important to be super clear about what's important to you, what brings meaning to your life, so that you can act from that place. So how do you see people finding that spiritual
Mm.
warrior part of themselves?
I think with Uranus and finishing up in Taurus, it's going to move into Gemini for the next 7 years or so on April 25th. But now people are really examining their values. What is meaningful to them? There's quite a potential. When Mars went into Aquarius in Minnesota, they did an economic strike. There's possibilities that this is going to be spreading out across the country. Actually, today, as we're recording this, there's another economic strike going on. People may be starting to cancel all kinds of streaming services and stuff. So what really matters to you is a time of what are you willing to do to support the community rather than just your personal desires. There is a full moon in Leo before the new moon in Aquarius. So getting clear, full moon in Leo, illuminating, the axis of the sovereign self, Leo, versus the collective and what's good for the group, Aquarius. And then after that, we've got a new start in Aquarius, and then this transit, which seeds some new things. So there may be a call for some big action, and then a new start. What are we doing? Where are we going? How are we contributing? Because the nodes are going to switch into Aquarius and Leo July 26th, and it's even going to be more amplified than what's happening now. February 17th is the solar eclipse in Aquarius. So yeah, the times they are changing, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've got, this is a 35, 36-year cycle. So we've got some time here to act on the things that are being put in motion around these transits in February. So if we see it as a theme of beginning and what it is we're starting or putting into motion, that can unfold over the coming years.
Yes, and recycling, repurposing, rather than the consumerism and just buying, 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 which has an impact on the country. I mean, there's so many companies laying people off. So many people are coming and picking up side hustles or having to find different ways to make money. There's a big financial story with this. Healthcare has gone away from so many people. So how are people going to get care that can't afford exorbitant healthcare prices? You may see emergencies. Aries is also like the emergency room where survival is in question. So we may see more and more local clinics popping up where people are donating their expertise or taking other different forms of payment for their expertise in healthcare or things like that. More and more getting back to more holistic treatments or things like that may be coming up. Yeah, there's all kinds of new starts, but money is a big part of it. The dollar's value is being ruined in the US, and the president has said he doesn't care about the dollar dropping like a stone. So yeah, this impacts all of us. We're in a time of Pluto and Aquarius. There are massive changes facing the collective. It can feel very catastrophic at times, but it's like Pluto moves at the speed of a glacier, but has the impact of an avalanche. I don't know who said that. I wish I did. Whatever astrologer said that was brilliant. It's one of the best descriptions of a Pluto transit I've ever heard.
Totally. And glaciers are super powerful. Very, very, if you look at what their impact over time. So yes, incredibly powerful times that we are in. And you had mentioned that momentum favors the bold, so that courage of taking action and being bold, but only when it's paired with discipline. So
Mhm.
can you talk a little more about that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, yes. One of the risks with Aries energy is it can be pioneering, but it also can be impatient and just rushing into things like ready, aim, fire. And that can lead to difficulties or disaster. So, that's something, and Saturn is in the sign of its fall in Aries. So another thing to look at when Saturn and Neptune meet is what authority, what leaders are falling. We already know that in Iran, the head there is in jeopardy, as there's a revolution going on over there. So that could be a leader that falls, because there's a solar eclipse, and then 3 days later there's the Saturn Neptune. So and the solar eclipse is squaring Uranus. So there's a big story. It's like, it's not a whisper like the COVID. Saturn and Pluto came together at COVID. That was a whisper. This feels like a loud bang, a wake up call. Something big happens, and it's opposite the president's ascendant. So something could be like coordinated attack by Congress, or some powerful group could be launched against the president, or the cabinet could say that's enough of this and 25th Amendment him. We'll see what happens. It's the Saturn Neptune. I mean, not Saturn. Solar eclipses are in eclipse seasons. Lunar eclipses can be times where it's the king is dead type transit. Yeah. And in certain cultures, the lunar eclipse is March 3rd in the sign of Pisces, not Pisces, Virgo, excuse me. That's that in Mesopotamia, I believe it was, the leader would put in a proxy as to protect themselves as the blood moon was coming.
Wow. Yeah, big,
Mhm.
big stuff. So we don't know what's going to happen,
We don't
but
know.
but I love, you mentioned the word emergency, and it's no accident that this series is titled Emergence, because emergency and emergence, same root word, right?
Yeah.
So how we show up, how we bring our own energy to our lives and what's happening in the world, but we can do it in our own little ways, right? Like, how would you suggest people think about their self-care around these big energies?
Yeah, well, we don't know what's coming exactly, but we know it's going to have a big impact. And we know, especially people in the United States, the Saturn Neptune conjunction is happening at our IC, which is our most private part. It's the land. I mean, right now there's big ice storms. The Earth is a big story with Uranus moving through Taurus. Uh, yeah, it's like climate is a big issue we're being faced with. And Saturn and Neptune meeting at Aries at the IC it feels like a lot of this summer could be very hot, dry. Fires could be a problem. So there's things outside of our control. What can we do about, we don't want to just sit and worry, but I feel like we need to be spiritually ready for for what is coming in a time where we don't know exactly what it's going to be about, but we do know our resources are impacted. And it's like, how can we face this time with some bravery and think about what we really need, what really matters? I think the biggest message I would say for everyone is, who is your community? How can you be in more community? Getting to know your neighbors. Hopefully you have some local community, but if you don't, if you're a spot amongst people who are very different than you, can you get community online or other ways? Because I think we're going to need to rely on each other in different ways. And if people who felt differently than you are awakened, and like, I think we need to understand we've all been very manipulated by, social media. And just thinking about, like, when I was growing up, there were three stations: ABC, NBC, CBS. We were all watching the same thing. Now people are getting bombarded with information that is, like, literally tailored to you based on things you looked at. And they sprinkle in, like, I love little doggy videos. They sprinkle in with the doggy videos, like, scenes of horror, and then this other stuff. Like, they managed to come up with ways to really manipulate your mind. And can we have forgiveness for those, unless they're totally evil, for those who thought differently, but we're all have been manipulated in some ways to, and remember that. That's what I'm saying. Like,
totally. Yeah.
If
remember,
a family member you'd written off has a change of mind, maybe consider having some forgiveness.
forgiveness. I love that, because we are all humans. We are all human beings in this together, and we're all doing our best, right? So I think that, one of the things is finding that spark within and allowing that to sort of be your guiding light in terms of, like you were saying, values and what feels important and meaningful to you, and then taking that spark and letting yourself move in that direction of what you want to create, what you want to see. Because some of this Saturn, if we're crystallizing, if we're taking ice, like the water, into form, we can do that with our ideals too, and put it into form. And it's kind of a nice full circle image here. So yeah, any other thoughts?
Yeah, this is what I'm trying to focus on, is getting spiritually ready for what is coming, and keeping in mind, I keep thinking about what Andre Barbeau said about this time we have the potential to up level as a species, to a new place. So
I love that. Yeah.
it's not going to be easy, but we're in the birthing canal. One of my mentors, Colette Baird-Reed, said, we're in the birthing canal. We're in the birthing canal. But once we get on the other side, there's a new world, and it's filled with potential, exciting ways to make a new start and differences. And life, I kind of have also gotten, with Saturn, Neptune, and Pisces, Little House on the Prairie, these themes of people, being isolated in the prairie. I used to love that show when I was a kid. But it gave, like, a little bit of this fairy tale imagery to the pioneering lifestyle. And we may go back to simpler times. Like, more and more people may decide, like, I've had enough of social media, click off, and find other ways of connecting, especially in person. And different things popping up. So I
love that. Getting simpler, kind of dialing it back, because I think we have lost some of that human connection. I mean, going through COVID and the pandemic, but also all of the changes that have happened in our technology, and so going back to some simpler, just basic human ways of connecting and sort of remembering, oh, hey, there's more to life than social media.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, the people we've let have power, I think what's going on with the Epstein situation is a big deal. Just wait for that lunar eclipse. So more and more and more and more is coming. There could be tremendous shifts that move us to a better place with different leadership coming. I'm hoping that's the case because, like, we don't need to go to Mars. We need to take care of the Earth, as far as I'm
Love
concerned.
I love that. Yeah, totally with you there. And I love, your perspective really on what's unfolding in the world and how that's connected to the astrological events. My focus tends to be more on sort of like what is the mood of the day and the energies and how can you work with those, but really bringing that connection to the events that are unfolding in the world around us because it's all the same energy. It's just whether we're thinking about the collective or the personal.
Yeah, and the personal becomes part of the collective more and more as we're going into Uranus and Gemini trine Pluto and Aquarius, the humane air signs, and they're both sextile Neptune and Aries. Yeah, so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
call this mini grand trine, I
yeah.
call it the cosmic wedge. And
I've
yeah,
been calling
it's,
it a double sextile. So
oh,
yeah, yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think it's really significant in because it lasts for years. That alignment is with us for most of this decade. So
Yeah, the rest of the decade,
yeah,
pretty much.
yeah,
So
yeah.
massive changes to the collective, and they're going to start feeling faster.
Hmm.
So,
Any more tidbits for us on where you see that those changes heading, or just big
mm,
changes and be spiritually prepared?
I think rather than, and this is something I keep telling myself because I've got a Mercury trine Pluto. I can come up with 1,000 things that could be coming, but you know, just being witnessing is way I'm going forward with it rather than getting too concerned about a 1984 type scenario.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
big
Let's
brother.
choose. Let's choose a different scenario.
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
choosing a different scenario. I think Saturn is the fly in the ointment of that Saturn-Neptune in Aries, a fly in the ointment. It's like the John McClane from Die Hard, if anybody has seen that movie. Like this administration, Uranus and Gemini trine Pluto and Aquarius. They want massive changes to happen really quickly using technology to change the collective. Uranus and Gemini silencing, like cutting off speech. But that Saturn Neptune at the IC opposite the MC. So the MC is the president, the IC and the executive branch. The IC is the opposition party and the rebels, where the fly in the ointment.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Well, deep breaths, and we will all get ourselves spiritually centered, and we will act from the spark within.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you so much, Celeste. Any final thoughts, or does that feel complete?
That feels complete. Thank you, Marina, so much for having me. This was a great opportunity to talk about this transit coming up. And yeah, we're in
Yeah.
quite a time. If anybody has not heard Bruce Springsteen's Streets of Minneapolis, I would recommend you go watch the video and listen to it. It's a song of the revolution. The solar eclipse is conjunct the moon of the United States, which rules the people, the Aquarius moon, squaring Uranus, and the lunar eclipse is in our ninth house of long distance, foreign affairs, legal things, a lot squaring. It's at 12 degrees Virgo, squaring our ascendant and our descendant. So it's like this is a big change for people in the United States and it affects the whole world because it's in the ninth house as well. So,
Mm.
yeah, it's just quite a time. And Lady Gaga also this week put out a new song, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day in the neighborhood. In this really, she sings it in a very like wistful, nostalgic, very Jupiter and Cancer voice. Yeah, so we're seeing the stories come to life, and Melania, the movie, sold like one ticket in some places, none in others. The president said, hurry, the tickets are selling out. No, they don't. No, they're not. It's a bomb. So that also tells you about the popularity of the administration. So
Yeah.
don't let the lies, I call Neptune and Aries, pop the balloon.
Mm.
A lot,
Yes.
I mean, I think we may be talking about the 2024 election more and more.
I love
About
that.
what really happened. And so,
Been in the Neptune in Pisces, disillusionment and just straight up misinformation, but straight up lies, right?
straight up lies. We've been
Yeah.
told straight up lies. That's Neptune and Pisces at the
Yeah.
last degrees. As you get to those last degrees, crisis and decay. And in September of 2024, the United States progressed sun was, and I think it was the progressed sun and moon, I believe, were eclipsed in
Mm.
Pisces.
Yeah.
So there's big stories
Yeah.
of deception and and lies, and that was right around the time of Hurricane Helene and Hurricane
Wow.
Milton. And that to
Milton.
me,
Yeah.
Paradise Lost
Hmm.
and Helen, the face that launched 1,000 ships,
Yeah.
came to mind with that.
Wow. Yeah. Amazing. Wow. Well, thank you for letting us into your mind. What a fun trip.
It's fun here. I connect everything. Like when Renee Good, I mean, it's
Yeah,
meaningful. Her name was Renee Good. It's meaningful.
totally.
His name was Alex Pretty, which is close to pretty, and pretty good is like it's all meaningful to me.
Yeah, I love
So
it. Yeah.
astrology is a symbolic, beautiful language that helps us connect the experience. And with the North Node in Pisces, we are in biblical times, but also notice any omens. There's good omens, there's bad omens, like things that when you see things that are happening.
Right. And there's a little bit of that, not to get too deep here, but a little bit of that, like things that are tragic can also have a good side and vice versa. So um it's like, keeping ourselves centered within
Hmm.
what's important, what's true, what's right, um, letting that
Hmm.
guide us forward.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Celeste, and thank you everyone for joining us again. You can learn more about Celeste at astrologybyceleste.com. Celeste will have a page at transformationalastrology.com for this talk and the upcoming speakers. And I encourage you to go ahead and get a free account there to be up to the minute on what is happening with this speaker series. I've got so many more different perspectives coming to you from some more wonderful speakers. So we'll look forward to that. And thank you again, everyone.
Thank you, Marina.